Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Care Sandwich. I'm Margarita Eberline, your host and founder of Marketing Boss. And today I have the privilege of interviewing Laci Hamilton, who works on a personal injury practice as well as disability. She's also a professor and author, very accomplished. I cannot wait to introduce you to her, and she'll be with us in the virtual stage in just a second. First, check out this video so you can remember what Care Sandwich is all about.
Welcome to Care Sandwich, the podcast where we dive into the success journeys of law firm owners across the country. I'm Margarita Eberline, your host and the founder of Marketing Boss, a fractional chief marketing officer firm for law firms. On this show, we'll explore the challenges, strategies, and victories that have shaped law firms and how they wrap every interaction with care. Because we believe that caring isn't just a value, it's a strategy for success. So grab your favorite sandwich, sit back, and let's dig into a conversation filled with insight, inspiration, and of course, a lot of care.
Welcome to the stage, Laci Hamilton.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and excited to have this conversation with you today.
You're welcome. So how are you so accomplished and then you look great too? Like, how do you even do that? Like, where do you find the time?
By the grace of God, right? I don't look like what I've been through. That's what I will say. I do try to put my best foot forward. So
I love it. So yeah, so tell us your story. Tell us, what do you do and how do you do it and where do you do it?
So I think I'll start with, where I come from. So I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Graduated from Louisiana State University. I was a young mom. I had my first child at 19. And so from that day forward, I made a focus to make sure that I was the kind of mom to my child that, I wanted to be, right? What you envision as a mother. And so I continued on. I finished with LSU. And then I worked for a little while in the legal industry. I was a legal secretary for about 8 years. And then I went to Southern University Law Center. It was just a desire of my heart. It was a dream of mine since I was in middle school to be an attorney. And so it was one of those things that I couldn't let go. And so I went back to school. By that time, I had 2 kids, had a third child in law school, finished. Yeah, I know, right? Finished cum laude, got into the practice. I started off doing medical malpractice and personal injury. And then I landed in disability. And I love to be in the disability space. I did that for about 5 years, decided that it was time for a pivot. And so I went into litigation, doing property and casualty on the defense side. And then I went over to the plaintiff side. And then from there, went on to personal injury. And then opening up my own law firm this past September, Hamilton Law, where I specialize in personal injury and disability.
And you also wrote a book. Talk to us about your book. How did that happen? Where'd you find the time for that? Like, you did it in between all of these things, I'm sure.
Yes. So right after I opened my law firm, I realized that it was important for me to present this information in a way that people could understand as it pertains to disability, because it's a misnomer. It's a lot of questions surrounding the disability program, as well as how to become an advocate for disability. And I thought that piece was extremely important because a lot of people are not aware that you can do disability advocacy with a college degree. Right? You don't have to be an attorney. You take an exam and you're able to represent claimants. And so for those that are passionate about this area of law, they are able to still participate and to help other people. And I wanted to get that information out. So I wrote this book, and it's a practical guide for advocates and attorneys. And it teaches you about how to represent claimants in disability hearings, as well as how to be successful in the EDP&A exam and what steps that you need to take in order to do so. And so it's a twofold book for people who want to get into the space, advocates that want to get in the space, attorneys that may want to add this as an additional practice area, or who want to do more purposeful work. They can read this book and be able to go and pick up hearings and start their own disability practice, and those who want to take this exam.
Wow, that's incredible. So where can we find a copy of your book? Where is it available?
So it's on my website, www.handledbyhamilton.com. If you click on the disability tab, you'll be able to purchase either an ebook format or a paperback book.
That is wonderful. Writing a book is no easy feat. I have published one book so far, and I'm getting ready to publish another one. And each time it feels like giving birth. It's so exhausting. I don't know what the process was like for you, but it's a lot. So thank you for doing that. And it sounds like you did it with the idea of empowering others to do what you do, which that's commendable.
Absolutely. I realized that when I showed up in these spaces, there was a lot of underrepresentation for claimants. And I realized that people that are going through the worst day of their life, that are trying to get disability, need advocates that are passionate about the work. Advocacy is not just about knowing the law, it's about standing up for people and having the courage to navigate through spaces for others when it matters the most. And so that's something that I wanted to bring to the forefront and make that available for anyone who's interested in that area.
So talk to us about your law firm now. You mentioned your practice areas. If
Mhm.
an attorney is listening that does not handle cases in that area, what is the best way for them to connect with you, to maybe refer you cases that maybe they don't take? And what can they expect?
Okay, so they can go to my website, or they can call me at 225-308-9955. But what they can expect from me is a full service firm. And what I like to say about Hamilton Law is that each client is treated like family member, right? I want them to feel empowered. I want them to feel safe, and I want them to know that it's handled by me and my firm. I have worked at multiple firms throughout my career. I've practiced for over 10 years. And so I've been in a lot of different legal spaces. And in opening my firm, what was most important to me is to have a space where people felt comfortable, where they trusted their attorney. I wanted to have a space where we operated with integrity, and that we move with discipline. And so I was very intentional about laying the groundwork for my firm. And I think the handle, or the catchphrase, "handled by Hamilton," that really means a lot. That means that when you come through the front door and I sign on to your case, it is handled from the beginning to the end, and you don't have to worry. And that's what I want for my clients. I want it to be a stress-free process from beginning to end. So that's what another attorney could expect if I'm handling a case that they refer to me.
That's wonderful. And I will expand on the importance of, just because you don't handle a certain practice area doesn't mean that you can't help people. A lot of, and me being in the marketing space, a lot of common people don't understand that different attorneys handle different practice areas. So they'll find an attorney that they know, like, and trust. They'll call them about something that they don't do. And sometimes, unfortunately, if that attorney doesn't have somebody in their network like you that they can refer those cases to, they'll simply say, sorry, we don't handle those kinds of cases, best of luck, and then just send them out to, like, like, may the odds be in your favor, right, land. And it's nice to have somebody that you can trust in your network, because then you don't have to just, like, turn them away per se, but you can guide them, and you still are building your own brand by doing that, because then they'll remember you as the law firm that then connected them to the lawyer they really needed. And they'll still come back to you, they'll still refer friends to you. So it's nice to have that ecosystem. um, Now, Laci, what is something that you envision? I know that, like, you just started your own law firm, right? So given that context, what is something that you envision accomplishing in the next 5 years for your firm?
So in the next 5 years, my goal is for my firm to be a full service nationwide disability firm, specializing in advocacy across all 50 states. That's extremely important to me. And I'd like to build that practice area out to make it a little more accessible in terms of using technology to be able to do intake, process applications, and move the process along a little bit faster. Social Security is a world of its own, right? And you're dealing with the government, and so things don't necessarily move as quickly as one would like. But I'd like to try to streamline that process, and bring in some apps and features and things like that that will help the claimants to get to their hearing and ultimately get their benefits. So that is my ultimate goal within the next 5 years, and then also to grow the education piece. I think it's very important to teach the future, the leaders that are coming up behind me, how to carry on this work. Because again, it was not something that I knew anything about when I got into it. It was just a job that I landed, and I loved it because it was purposeful work. And I knew from a very early age that I wanted to be an advocate and give people a voice in a system that necessarily wasn't meant to help them. And so that is exactly what disability brings into my practice. It allows me to reach back, help others, and to reach forward and help the claimants right now and get through this terrible situation that they're going through. I'll never forget that the when I was training for this position, one of the attorneys told me, they said, one thing you'll realize is that you are representing someone on the worst day of their life. You may have 80 cases, you may have 100 cases, but this is the most important thing that is going on in their lives. And I think that that deserves a level of compassion, a level of empathy, and a level of care from, someone who really truly desires to do the work. Disability claimants aren't just another number or a tick. They are very important. They are very important people, and they have this extreme situation going on. I've seen all kinds of things in this practice area, terrible stories, and I want to be a voice for those people, and I want to help to educate others that want to be a voice. And so, in that, I do plan to release a educational course that goes along with the book, to teach you virtually how to advocate for these claimants or how to take this exam, just like the book.
I love it. And it sounds to me, I'm going to mirror back to you what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. It sounds to me like you're so passionate about the people that you help and about their stories and about their lives and about the journey that they're on, that your priority is to honor that and to help as many of them as you can, even if it's not you directly. And I think that's beautiful, because I think in the legal space, many times the inclination is, I'm going to hoard my expertise. And maybe hoard is an ugly word, but I'm going to reserve my expertise for me, for my law firm, for my team, so that everybody has to come to me. But then what happens is, you can only help people to the degree that you can scale your firm. And it sounds to me like, yes, that's a priority for you, but it's almost secondary, where like, you're like, what do I need to do to help more people, even if it's not through me directly? And I think that's beautiful. So I really want to commend you for that. I think that says a lot about you, about your character, about the kind of person that you are, the sort of human being that you're, that you are as a person. And it's not just rhetoric in your marketing when you say you care about people, because I'm seeing it in the way that you're growing your business, the way that you're setting your goals, the way that you've engineered all these systems, your book, the course. So thank you so much for sharing that. This is deep. Once again, how can people get a hold of you to refer you cases?
And 225-308-9955.
I love it. I love it. And then one more question. And that is because, it is, after all, the fun question time, Care Sandwich podcast. What is your favorite sandwich?
Ooh, my favorite sandwich is going to be an Italian sub. It's nothing like it. I love like the grinder sandwiches, that style of sandwich. Oh, it's just the best. I love an Italian sub. I may get one for lunch today, actually.
It sounds delicious. I'm a big fan of the Italian meats myself. Oh my gosh. Laci, it has been a pleasure, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I have. We absolutely love sharing stories like this, and stay tuned for the next episode of Care Sandwich. Laci, I'll see you backstage. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Care Sandwich. Remember, the way we care for our clients, our teams, and ourselves can make all the difference in our success. Until next time, keep caring.